I certainly didn't know that it would become what it's become in my life. But I just know that my first trip to Florida, now having had time off and retirement, and the first time stepping foot in that building, that culture just overtook me, and it's something that you really wanted to be a part of. I was very, very comfortable being number two. I will be really, really honest with you. I absolutely enjoyed that. This is different. It's a lot of work, but it's been challenging. It's sort of, I don't know, brought up in me, again, sort of that competitive nature that I used to have in the ring, but it's just from a different standpoint now. I want this to be good for them, and I want the shows to be, real well received, on behalf of not only the fan base that has committed itself to NXT, but also the men and women that come to NXT and, put their trust in us. So look, I guess that's a long way of saying that, I knew when it started it was going to be something cool, but I had no idea that I would be a part of it, and it's a big part of it as I've become. But just like my wrestling career, I knew that I loved it, I just didn't know where it was going to go. It surpassed far more than I ever possibly could have dreamed, and this has been the same thing, and my life has been sort of that tale of itself. I am, just now I'm an old man, but I'm a kid from Texas that wanted to be a pro wrestler, you know what I mean? And one bedroom apartment and a car would have been bitchy, you know what I mean? And a lot's changed since then, so obviously I'm thrilled about it, and that's why I'm committed to NXT and obviously the WWE.
Brett.
Hey, Shawn, thanks for reporting. Brian Matthews. It's been a couple of months since William Regal has been brought back in the fold in WWE. Can you talk a little bit about his potential involvement in any role that he's had in NXT since being back?
Well, look, Steve's obviously a huge part of NXT and its origins. I will say this, at least for the the immediate future, Steve's been doing more stuff with main roster than he has with us. Now we haven't had the time, obviously, with everything, and with Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania. The communication has not been a lot between myself and everybody in Stanford. And as far as Steve's role, if he wants to come back and be a part of NXT, I would suspect that he does. Obviously, to work with his son, if nothing else. But right now, for those of us in the WWE family, we're just thrilled to have Steve back. And by Steve, I'm William Regal, but I call him Steve, obviously. I have no one. Same reason I'm the only one that calls Hunter, and everybody else calls him Paul. But anyway, but we're happy to have him back. He's been out there at the tryouts. He's still a big part of NXT. I think he's still sort of got his hands in everything. His eyes, Steve's eyes are everywhere, I guess I'll say. And he's continuing to look around the wrestling world and find for us maybe a diamond in the rough. So again, as far as what he does for NXT, there's still outliers of him doing that, and hopefully in the future, there'll be more of them.
Sir Wilkins here. How are you today?
Good.
All right. So you've been talking about the tryouts a lot throughout this conversation, and you have an eye for talent. What exactly do you look for at these tryouts to potentially be an NXT superstar or a WWE main roster superstar?
Well, to be honest, I don't know that I look for anything specific. Clearly, you have to have obviously athleticism. You have to be coordinated. I think a lot of what I guess if I said I was going to look for is how much do they listen to the coaching and apply it, and how quickly do they go from what maybe they were doing wrong to doing right, and what attitude they do that with, how much energy they bring, and doing your best in a short amount of time to see what kind of people they are. Let's put it this way, we have, for me anyway, I'll say this time, there's a show being filmed while we're doing that. I often wonder how often, a camera makes people different, and especially young people. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that, again, you put them in front of the camera, I don't know how much of the real them we get to see and how much they're putting it on. I don't know, from everything you see on TV, from a reality standpoint, I need to be at this, or out of, you know what I mean? So it's trying to see through that and then find a little bit about the human being. I will say now that we've done a number of these with these athletes, you begin to sort of I don't know, for me, I'll say I noticed that like the gymnasts or the tumblers seem to really transition well. You know, I think for the first time we have a male cheerleader out there this time, and he's doing fantastic. And so, and sometimes whether our bigger football players, the footwork, you know what I mean, is maybe not as good on a lineman, but you look at a wide receiver and it's a little bit different. So again, honestly, the more we do these with some of these college athletes, the more I'm learning about it. But I still go back to the sort of the overall, if you see it, you see it. It's one of those things that I'll go back to, you know, things in my life that have been really important to me, I just kind of knew. And so I look at this the same way. Clearly we're gonna cast a wide net, but there are usually 2 or 3 that you pick out and you go like, those ones are special, those are ones I know we're gonna keep.
Thank you.
You bet.
Excuse me. Hi, Shawn. Ricky Chino, SB Nation. You look at so much of the talent that was on Stand and Deliver last year has now moved on. Many of them are wrestling this weekend at WrestleMania. And obviously that's part of your guys' job at NXT is to get these people ready to move on. When you work so closely with somebody for so long and you're really kind of a mentor to them, when it finally does get to be close to their graduation day, you know, how does that make you feel?
Well, it's bittersweet, obviously. You're thrilled for them. And look, that everybody, it's no different than when you have your buddies. Again, we all used to travel up and down the road together, but then Kevin and Scott, they're going to, you know, they're going to WCW, and like, oh, don't worry, we'll still talk, we'll call them. No, you don't. Because you don't have time, the business is busy. And the same thing with our talent that go up. Like, oh, I'll come back and visit. And then maybe they do a couple times, and all of a sudden, you know, life and the job and everything else gets a hold of them. But that's, again, I've been doing this for 38 years now, and so I'm used to that. Our job is, again, to give them the best platform that we can and enable them to have success. I think it's a good thing, and I take it as a compliment if they're having so much success they don't have the time to fit us into the schedule. I'll say this, it's one of those things where, you know, it's sort of a roll of the dice. I'll find out what kind of job I did because one day, sooner or later, you're gonna interview them, you're gonna have them on a podcast, and they're either gonna say something really nice about me, or they're gonna really bury me, and then I'll know what kind of job I did. But again, you know what I mean, it's, well, I appreciate it, I got one guy thinks I'm Thank you very much. But again, look, I'll say this, I mean, I know what our intentions are there, and it always helps, again, I guess when they, you know, I don't know, they all still keep in touch. You know what I mean? You get a text every now and then, and it's very nice. And so, like I said, that's what it is. It's just being a little, being a part of somebody's life, being, I don't know, something that you go like, you know, they say thank you. And that's, I don't know, and I even see it at the tryouts. You know, you see some of them come back and they come up and they, you know, they'll, you know, you get a hug instead of a handshake. You know what I mean? And it even happens with Regal. Yeah? And so, and you watch, you know, I watched someone like almost, you know, come in yesterday where I didn't have a lot of time with him, but I could see him just hugging Regal, you know, because, you know, Steve's known him from the very beginning, you know what I mean? And I guess that's the stuff that we take with us. It isn't about how much they call us or how much we see them. The fact that when they do see us, you can tell it was something special. And, you know, I don't know, it was a joy for me to sit there and watch that yesterday, you know what I mean? Because without Steve, a lot of those people don't make it in the door. And I apologize. Do we have a water by any chance? Or is there any water in there? Okay. No, we can go ahead. I was just curious. Yeah, everyone.
Mike Johnson, PW Insider. I wanted to ask about.
You were supposed to be first, aren't you?
I guess I'll be able to.
That's like twice now. You're killing your gimmick.
I wanted to see what the status is on NXT Europe as you guys develop it. Where are we in terms of talent recruitment, infrastructure, and have any of the plans changed with the company potentially being sold next year?
So as far as I know, no plans have changed. But again, look, that's what we do in NXT. You know, we zig when we're supposed to zag if they ask us to. But right now, it's my understanding that everything is on course. And I will say this, to be honest with you, I never know what the hell it is I'm supposed to say about that stuff and I'm not supposed to say. I do know that it's still on course. I know that we're putting sort of it from our standpoint, from a creative standpoint, getting people on board that we think will help be able to, write and produce that show, things of that nature. We have in our minds, and we, put down on paper, certainly from our standpoint, talent that we feel like one can benefit from it, and also some of our new and younger talent that we have at NXT, where we say like they might not be live TV ready, but these would be great prospects to do from an NXT Europe standpoint. And then I have also on sort of on our own, again because I just sort of assume we're going to get asked. I've done a little research, and had some people look into some obviously talent that are that live over in the UK and in Europe and whatnot, and trying to sort of look at who we feel like might be the best to at least reach out to when the time comes that we get asked to do that. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Steve.
Hey, Shawn, usually I have my baby with you Zoom call, but
Oh,
not
yeah.
today.
Very nice.
Yes, I'm Boston boy, very excited about coming back. But yet, NXT Stand Deliver is pretty much the WrestleMania of NXT. Could we see championships of NXT being defended on WrestleMania maybe next year?
As far as an NXT match on WrestleMania,
Yeah.
you say? Well, look, I'll say this. I don't think, certainly when you come out here to the West Coast, that gets very difficult. I don't know. It's a great question. I don't see that being able to happen, to be perfectly honest, because one of our Stand and Deliver event. And look, it's also that, those spots at WrestleMania are very valuable. And look, we've moved to 2 nights, and that's, some of it is because one, obviously can hold 2 nights. And I imagine it's, extremely successful from a company standpoint. But I don't know that that's maybe the best message to send to some of your, hardcore faithful guys on Raw and SmackDown, that they run the possibility of being replaced by a match on NXT. And I do understand that that would be a great highlight for us, a great exposure for us. But I guess again, I guess I get the luxury. I've been on both sides, and those spots are very valuable. So I would understand if that was something they didn't want to do, especially when we have our own event going on, certainly before the first event of WrestleMania.
Thank you.
Tom D'Angelo, adfreeshows.com. How are you, Shawn?
Very good, thank you.
Good. Question I had, I shared the same last name with him. I wanted to ask about the development of Tony D'Angelo. How do you feel he's been doing in NXT so far and cultivating himself as a character and growing more that he could be main roster ready?
Look, Tony's one of our favorite guys, and he's one, as we always say, he's good people. He's just a good young man through and through, which is fantastic. I think from a character standpoint, look, and I know there's some people like, oh my goodness, it's such a cliche, cheesy character. That's what makes it so great, if you ask me. I think he does a phenomenal job. And look, Tony, I'll say, it's funny you ask that because again, Tony is that guy to me where, depending on things, how they flesh out here in the next, I don't know, throughout the summer. I see Tony being the guy that goes to the next level here at NXT. Now that goes with me saying that's if we get to keep him. And so I think that's a good problem to have because Tony is one of those guys that I feel like we have kept pretty steady and consistent on NXT, but we have not, give him what we want, like call the big push. But he's somebody that could easily transition to main roster, because we've done a good job of taking care of him. So for me, that's what I will say personally. It is a wait and see on how things flesh out here, after WrestleMania. And if we have Tony D, I think he's got really, really big things here in NXT in the future for him.
Cool, thank you.
You bet.
Hello, Emily May with Sportskeeda Wrestling. Thank you so much for your time today. I wanted to know that you've had so many amazing memories, not only in the ring, but behind the scenes. And now that you've talked a lot about how you've taken many under your wing, and we've seen you have emotional moments after matches. what are some of the memories that come to mind as you lead into WrestleMania weekend, as you're uplifting some of these NXT stars before their big moment?
Well, again, I suppose that's one thing. I'm real with all of it. And again, I'll say they understand it. I'm emotionally attached to a great many of them. They know that. I think that makes them sometimes want you to work really hard for me, which I think is a good problem to have. But they know I'm personally invested. And I guess what the hardest part for me and the most anxiety I have out of the weekend is now it's in their hands and I want it to go perfectly. And that to me, and it's funny because Hunter has been doing his best over the last, and it's been doing it over the last several years, but certainly the last several months of I don't know, helping me sort of through being able to sit there. He's so calm and cool, and he just sort of sits there and rides right through. I yell at the screen, I'm up, I'm down, I'm moving all over the place. Like Johnny's sitting there smiling because I'm throwing headsets off. I'm all over the place because I'm so wrapped up in everything that it is that they do. I want it to go perfectly for them, but you can't go out there and perform it for them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Again, I guess that's what I do is I just tell them I try to make sure they try to enjoy this, and to also remind them that the sun will. One of the things that they know I'll say all the time: the sun will still rise tomorrow. The world is not going to fall. Time will not stand still. Your life will not go to hell in a handbasket if you don't have a 5-star match. You will be okay. We've still got Tuesday. You know what I mean? For this job, the great thing is to always try to remember to let them know in 6 days we can change it. You know what I mean? It's 6 days. And quite honestly, the way the business is now, there's another show on Wednesday night, there's another show on Thursday night, there's another show on Friday night. Again, the news cycle is pretty fast, so all you have to really do is wait 24 hours and this too shall pass. So again, we tell them to make the best of it, but if it doesn't go the way that they had hoped, they're always going to have another opportunity.
Thank you.
Hi, Shawn. Joel Torres from Contralona. So this show is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern, but here in Los Angeles it's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern. Are there any challenges production-wise that you have been working with?
Yeah. Next. No, it is. Look, it's incredibly challenging. It's getting to the building at 5:30. It's a 6 a.m. Call time, and and again, this is you may not know this, but this is Los Angeles. Apparently, it's a union. So look, people working overtime. No, it's very challenging, but I'll say this. Again, no matter what you want to say about the WWE, the reality is this is what we do. It's part of the job. And look, we have no one to blame but ourselves because we throw, batshit crazy challenges at one another, and then we feel now we got to pull it off. And that's what's going to happen on Saturday morning. We're all going to roll in there at 6 a.m. Again, that production crew is going to be there. We're going to be there with a skeleton crew. We're going to have to get things done. We're going to have to get it done quickly and sharply and be out of there by a certain amount of time, and then get over to WrestleMania. It's just, and those people are going to pull it off. And so that's part of the challenge. And then you look at this show and you realize, again, we've got some 20-year-olds out there. We've got some 22-year-olds out there. We've got our over the hill gang at probably 30. You know what I mean? So, and we're asking them to do all this before WrestleMania, and to do it again on a moment's notice. So again, it's incredibly challenging from every production standpoint. It's a thin crew. It's a very little time for, again, it's a new building, it's a new setup, rehearsals are different. Guess what? We don't have time to do a lot of stuff. But we're going to get it done one way or another. And that's the challenge of it. That's the joy of getting it done. And look, when everything is said and done, you guys will grade it on the performance. And again, and look, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I expect nothing less. You know what I mean? You're gonna hold us accountable to that, and if it ain't good, you're not gonna sit there and go like, nah, but they had a 6 a.m. wake-up call, and Shawn did tell us they had to get up, and everybody was up at 4:30 in the morning. Our girls had to get into makeup at 5:30 a.m. You know what I mean? And, and have 20 minutes, per match for rehearsal, you know what I mean? Entrances and everything else. Now you're gonna go like it sucked or it was great. But that's the way it should be, you know what I mean? And that's okay. Again, we look forward to the challenge. We'll find out how it turns out. And like I said, if it, no matter how it goes, we got a show coming Tuesday night. That's a fly back to Orlando.
Shawn, Jan Murphy, Post Media. A few weeks ago, we saw Sami Zayn in Montreal. We saw the crowd really take over that weekend. You're familiar with the Montreal crowd. Talk about what you do with the kids in terms of crowds, what to expect and how to work a crowd, and what goes into that, and what you might expect this weekend.
Well, you know what? I guess I'll say this from the crowd standpoint. I know that's always kind of a question mark, and I always look. It's about enjoying the experience, no matter what it is, positive or negative. I'll say this: I think most people come to have a good time. Now, how everyone defines a good time may be different, but again, I guess for us, the great thing about being in front of those folks in Orlando, it's almost, we always tell everybody, they're a rough group, but it's almost like stand-up. You know what I mean? They might have to, it's great developmental training for them because you never know week to week how our fans are going to react in Orlando. They can turn on you on a dime, or they can be behind you for some strange reason and you don't even know why. But that's great, which makes our superstars have to, develop and learn to think on the fly. It really affects from a promo standpoint. It makes them more sharp. So we always look at everything from a developmental standpoint. That's what we are. And so there's going to be good and bad all the time. And I'll say this job, no matter where you're going, you never know it all. You continue to learn because, again, the great thing about it is it continues to evolve, it continues to change. What you guys want, what you're looking for, what the entertainment dollar is asking for these days sort of changes on a regular basis. And I don't know that anybody can define what that is exactly. You just do your best as an entertainer to go out there, and trust what you've done, trust the story that you're in, trust the match and everything that you've put forward, and then you got to go out there and let it roll. And again, I'll say this, I think things are now viewed maybe a bit better in hindsight, you know what I mean? I think there's always, a chance for that. That's something to always, to remind them as well. That's something that was in the moment really great. 10 years from now, people will say wasn't great, and something that was horrible 10 years from now, they're gonna be like, oh no, that was before its time. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, once again, the sun's gonna rise tomorrow. We can't live and die on each performance, and that is a mantra all the time with our talent, because again, it's a stressful business as it is. You know what I mean? This is a stressful weekend as it is. This job is going to become about business and money and travel and a lot of other things. I want this part of their lives to be fun. And so I want them to enjoy these moments, let the crowd react the way they want, they paid their money, let them have a good time. You go out there and do the same thing.
Cool. Got time for one more?
Queen PR, one half of those wrestling girls. One thing I appreciate about NXT is that you guys have the most women on TV most of the time. What can you say about the NXT women's division and where do you see them go?
It's going to continue to grow. We're very proud of that. And like that started, I think years ago with NXT. I think what I'm most proud of is that we have continued to build on that and build on it in a way that isn't, I guess, we're producing new talent, brand new people that no one has ever seen before, and these ladies are stepping up and they're doing a great job. You think about Tiffany and Soul, and again, I'm just naming, there are others, but I'm just naming those two. The way they've adapted to this, again, Soul's been doing it for, 9 months, and it's absolutely crazy. And Tiffany, she's very, like in 1 year. And it's amazing the way they've adapted it. We've turned them into, again, sort of, maybe they're not Roman Reigns, and they're not, Trish Stratus at this level yet, or Becky. But my goodness, we've turned them into NXT superstars in a very short amount of time. But it's because of their dedication and their ability. They're just phenomenal athletes. And the thing is, they're fantastic young ladies. And they're hungry, they're passionate. And I think they've fallen in love with this stuff, which is the best part for us. Because when they do that, when they buy into what it is we do, that to me is kind of the difference maker of going to other levels. No, they may not have been like so many of us and watched it when they were little. Or maybe just did it for a short time and then got away from it because they focused on something else. Again, their sporting career. But they always, they come back and they understand the passion and love that we all have for it, and it transfers over to them. And it becomes important to them also to hold up the reputation of just that women's division. And that's something that I think, NXT has sort of made sort of its own thing, sort of renowned. If you're a young lady coming into NXT, you've got a big legacy to uphold. And I think at least all the new young ladies coming in, they take that really seriously. And we're very proud of that they do, because I will say, I think that's one of our, that's one of our proudest things, is that that we do just that we are able to feature our ladies a lot of times, and there's no, I don't know, be able to go like, oh yeah, that's amazing. You know what I mean? That's just fantastic for us, and to do it with no work. Again, to such have capable, bright young ladies, coming in is just fantastic. And obviously, our veteran ladies, Zoe and Indy, again, bringing them up, making sure that they understand it, they respect it, you know what I mean, and continue to pass that on. It's absolutely, again, I'm beating it over the head. We're very proud of it as well, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, to be perfectly honest. Thank you.
Shawn will wrap with closing remarks.
Closing remarks? Once again, thank you guys very much. Look, as I said the times on the phone, I enjoy doing these. I really appreciate you guys helping us out with NXT. And I know part of it's your job. I hope these things are well received. I enjoy doing them. I hope you enjoy doing them. I try to be real with it. And I don't know. Again, we're looking forward to Stand and Deliver. We'd certainly appreciate any help, last minute pushes you guys can give us. The women's championship match, the ladder match, I'm pretty sure is going to be starting off this show. We're going to start this thing off with a bang. The men in the North American Championship match, that thing is absolutely going to be freaking crazy. And again, just so excited about it, this show. And I know it's early in the morning. Don't stay out late on Friday, all right? After the Hall of Fame, get your monkey asses in bed, all right? And make sure you get up and come out and support us. And again, thank you all very much. Is there anything else I'm technically supposed to cover from a corporate standpoint?